Hey, what's up, guys? We're back for the Canadian MMA Podcast. Which episode? I already don't know, man. I'm super fried. I've been working at night for like 5, 6, 7 straight days. I don't even know what day it is, but we're here, and Josh is here. What's up, my guy?
What's up? Yeah, man, episode number 5, I think. We're back to doing it digital after we got to do that special edition last week in person. But yeah, ready to. Got some big fights this week. Canadians back fighting in the UFC again. Got 3 of them, but sadly 2 of them against each other. And then a big co-main event slot for Jeremy Kennedy. Get to break down Anthony Romero's big win too. A disappointing decision from PFL and Rumble in the Cage 64.
Hmm. And yeah, of course, man, if you knew, man, how much Indian food I took on the plane, bro. I was eating Indian food from Vancouver for like 2 days straight at home.
I didn't. I thought I had no idea how you were gonna get that home. I thought you guys were all gonna be eating like a full 3-course meal of Indian food at 6 a.m. before the plane.
No, I just stacked it up in my carry-on bag and I fucking took it home. And then I came home and there was some food for the Super Bowl and shit, so I didn't eat it. So the day after and the other day after, there was like I didn't think there was so many Indian food left, bro, but there was. And the cat is rubbing itself against the mic, or I don't know, but
Oh
that's
shit!
don't
Yeah, no,
worry.
he
That's
was
what
purring.
that's what cats do, man. That's what cats do. But yeah, let's fucking get into it. We'll start with some fights that have been announced. Once again, I will try to run through it quite quickly because we've got hella shit to to talk about, like you said. But Samurai MMA, man, I think the commission just finally opened the floodgates. They started accepting the matchups and everything. So they're pouring matchups on us. The biggest one is probably Louis Jourdain against Kike Gonzalez. He's a 10-3 prospect from Mexico. Pretty good fighter. Didn't see much from him, but guy he's got a good record. Been fighting for a good organization. And Louis Jourdain. Just coming from fresh from his performance against Gabe Sagman at Unified. It was good, and it's the type of fights that Louis needs right now. He's 6-3, but he had some pro boxing fights. He had some fights like outside of MMA, so he's getting a little more experience. And now to fight a guy who's got 13 pro fights with a good record, that's what needs to happen after a big win against Gabe Sagman, who's been like on the Canadian scene for a while. So a good matchup for Louis to move forward if he's able to win the fight. And for Kike, it's a huge opportunity when you hear a Jourdain and you're not fighting in the UFC, and you kind of make the link. You know that if you go there and beat that guy, people are gonna be talking about you. Then Danny Malott, Jordan Balmire. That's an amazing local matchup. Two strikers. Jordan Balmire was a pro boxer for a long time, quite decent, even good pro boxer in Quebec. But before doing pro boxing, he did some amateur MMA fights, and he beat Robert Serrais, who's fighting in the co-main event against Jesse Ronson, and I think he even beat Jeremy Caponi, if I'm not mistaken, too. So it's going to be a pro MMA debut for Jordan Balmé, but the guy has been around the block, and Danny Malott is a very experienced striker too, 2-0 as a pro in MMA. So amazing local matchup. Then Jonathan Ramsey, of course, we were awaiting his fight announcement. It's going to be against Emmanuel Suarez, who is from Argentina. He's 2-1 with a draw, and his record is all over the place. Like the guy has a split decision win, a draw, as a win by DQ. So when you look at the guy's record, you really, really don't know what to expect from him. So that's going to be a good one. Then Isaac Blais, another guy who was shining for TKO and then didn't fight since TKO. Basically, he's been out for a long, long time, but he's 2-0, was one of the brightest prospects when TKO closed. And he's fighting Mauricio Cruz, who's there every card, fighting somebody and trying super hard and making it super fun, even though he almost never wins. So that's going to be a good one. Then Simon Lagarde, Gordon Cunningham. That's a crazy matchup. Simon Lagarde is basically Strania. That's his style of fighting. His style of fighting is Strania, and Gordon Cunningham is from Adrenaline MMA. he's a good striker, but like a more complete fighter than Lagarde, who is a brawler, a grinder, a guy who's gonna be in your face, like really close to you, and try to exchange punches and elbow you in the face if he can. But that's a very cool style matchup. Both guys are 1-1 in their pro careers, so it's very interesting. Then BTC is the other promotion that went absolutely crazy this week with the fight announcements. The main event, finally, Surrey City, Wallel Watson. That's a big fight, very big fight. Wallel Watson is exactly the type of guy that you want to be fighting when you're one fight away from the UFC. And if you're able to beat this guy, that's huge. The guy's a veteran. He's not. He doesn't have a good record anymore. He's 15-13 right now. Won his last fight, but was on a little bit of a losing streak before that. But the guy has fought for almost every promotion that exists in the world. The UFC two went 1-3, 2-3 in the UFC with losses to like Mitch Gagnon, TJ Dillashaw, and Yves Jabouin. So weirdly enough, getting his ass beat by Canadians mostly in the UFC. But yeah, it's a big matchup for Seri, who kind of in a waiting period because he's got the record, he's got I think the pedigree and everything to be on the contender series. But do you want to be inactive for like almost a year while waiting for that opportunity, or just find a good experienced opponent to stay busy against? And that's what happens here, I think. So good matchup. Then Tyler Wilson back home in Kingston. He's from Kingston. He's been fighting all over the place in the United States, everywhere. He's been training in Montreal, so hasn't been home a lot. He's gonna be there and fighting Blake Sigildazen, the guy that I don't have a good time trying to say his name, but we all know that guy. He's a very good bantamweight fighter, so a very exciting matchup. Then Luke Roberts, man, one of my favorite NTT guys, because yes, he's a wrestler, but he's also a super fun jiu-jitsu guy. He's going to be fighting Yusuf Nazokatov, who I absolutely don't know, so I'm looking forward to that. Ryan Yapsam, Alex Glusman, that's a rebooking from the previous event. It's a fight that I've been looking forward to because Ryan Yapsam was super impressive in his pro debut. And then the final one, it's close to home because it's the Sheriff Jared Dumont, one of my favorite guys around the scene, against Cédric Lochard from Quebec. Who's gonna make his way out there to BTC to try to beat Jared Dumont, which is an enormous task in my opinion. But Lochard, I think, has more experience as a pro and everything, so it's gonna be a good matchup there. And then finally, BFL, only one fight announced, but the big one: Navid Zangane, Xavier Nash. That's an amazing matchup. I'm just super happy that Xavier Nash finally gets like these big fights on these cards, because he's just very good and he's been deserving it, even though, like we always say, his record is not maybe the best one. Then Unified 50, Jake Craig making his pro debut at heavyweight against Josh Hines, which is a big test for him because Josh Hines does not have the best record. He's 4-3, but that's 7 pro fights, and the guys are going to be making his pro debut against a guy who got 7 pro fights. So it's a big ask for Jake Craig, who's kind of a heavyweight prospect we've been looking at and we've been like waiting on the pro scene. And then finally, prospects fighting. They didn't announce a fight yet because they need the approbation of the commission and everything for the opponent. But Strania Gavrilovic is going to be fighting on that event on March 5th, which is the next event. And I don't think we'll get to cover it because I don't think there's a pay-per-view, sadly, but they put the fights on YouTube afterwards. So maybe we could like break down one fight or 2 fights a week when they put it on finally. But all that being said, that these were the fights. Do you have any opinions on any of them?
Well, yeah, starting with Samurai, super excited to see some of those guys come back. Obviously, Louis Jourdain fighting a guy with lots of experience, Kike Gonzalez. That's going to be a big one for both guys, really. Lots to gain for both of them. They both got good records, and I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Ramsey. He looks like he's got a lot of potential. He's had some like nasty performances, so gonna be good to see him back in there. And yeah, to keep this going quickly, of course, like Surrey City, a huge fan of his. He's got a big opportunity here. It looks to be a good matchup for him as well, fighting in BTC again. I'm glad that I was able to catch one of his fights at BFL while he was over there, and yeah, kicking it back to obviously Xavier Nash and Naveed Zengana is such a big fight. That one's going to be sweet. Like two very high level grapplers. Naveed has the wrestling pedigree, and Xavier, you've seen his grappling. He just out grappled Tristan Connolly over 3 rounds at BFL. That was 74. So that's going to be a good one. And yeah, super bummed that PFC is going to. They don't have the live broadcast or anything, but yeah, glad that it's going to be on YouTube at least.
For sure, man. And I'm just happy to see the, because I knew that Jay from BFL and Daniel from Samurai and Derek from Fight League Atlantic and the people at BTC and prospects and everything, they've been talking and they've been willing to help each other out, and we're really seeing this as like Seri in theory is still under contract with BFL, but he's going to be fighting in BTC. Then we've got some guys like Mathieu Langlais from Samurai who are going to go to the BTC event too. And we see guys like Xavier Nash come to BFL for a second or third time. So I really like seeing these guys. I don't want to say getting passed around. It's not really a good term, but yeah, seeing these guys fight a little bit all over the place because like, in the end, for these better prospects who want to go to the UFC or to some bigger leagues someday, what they need the most is fights. And sometimes when you're with a promotion, some things don't materialize or whatever, and like you're stuck missing out on an event. But these promotions sometimes they have like 4 events a year, so if you miss out on an event, you might be 6 months without being able to fight, and that's not what we're looking for these younger prospects. So it's cool to see them being able to go almost everywhere and fight everywhere, and then just be fucking active, man, and improving their records and experience and everything. So, yep, let's go to the Anthony Romero fight in the fucking PFL, my least favorite league on earth. And, like, as soon as you open a PFL Challenger Series broadcast and you listen to it for 5 minutes, you kind of know which guy they want already. And they clearly wanted that Latino guy in the main event. And, like, more props to him. He was the only guy to get a finish. But like, once again, bro, you look at the 4 fights on this card and you're like, if there's one fighter who sticks out of the lot, like this guy is way better than every other fighter on this event. Once again, it's Anthony Romero, man, and he goes there, he gets the fight, he wins handily, and he doesn't get selected. So it kind of sucks, man.
Yeah, it makes no sense why he hasn't been scooped up by one of these big promotions yet, because he's still so young, like 25, I think, so much potential, and just took out one championship vet. I think he was 1-1 over there, and Anthony Caruso. It's like, you look at the records of all of the guys, and Anthony sticks out by far the most. And yeah, PFL, like you said, they kind of had their eyes on Elvin Espinoza. They were promoting him quite a bit throughout the week, a bit more than everyone else, it seemed like, and gave him the main event slot. He's a good grappler, and they matched him up against a striker that doesn't really have much grappling skill set. Like, I think if you had switched their matchups, it would have been like Anthony would have gotten it done in 1.
For sure, bro, man. And like, it was just so impressive all the way through because, like, first round, first off, he took him down 4 or 5 times, different takedowns every time. Like some judo throws to counter. Like once he kind of countered with a whizzer and kind of hip toss whizzer. It was super cool. Fucking some trips, some normal single legs, double legs. The guy's working everything. He's landing every takedown. He's setting everything up with his hands. His hands look super good. The guy he was fighting, was good. He was a good fighter, to be honest. And when he was coming forward, he was getting countered super hard. Second round, gets drop on his face. Anthony Romero gasses himself out trying to finish the guy. Referee's not very generous, to be honest, but I'm gonna give the credit to the other guy. He worked, so he was able to get out of this situation. Um, then things fence. There's a fence grab while Romero tried to sweep him. So basically, this round is supposed to be a 10-8 because the guy got dropped on in his face and got like almost finished for 1 minute straight. So that becomes like a 10-7 in my book since he lost a point. Plus, it's already a 10-8, so 10-7. Then third round, Caruso comes out swinging, but even though Romero is gassed, he's still winning the exchanges. He's still landing the takedowns, takes the guys back before the end of the fight and everything. So like just a complete performance all the way through, and the fact that he's so young, still quite experienced. I think it's 12-1, 11-1 now.
Mhm.
Uh, Man, I don't think there's another lightweight like him outside of the big promotions, and I don't know why he's not getting picked up, man. And he's gonna end up with Bellator, and I don't want to say that it's gonna suck, but it's gonna suck, man. I want him to fight the best in the world. In the like, it sucks that we still got this UFC bias because I don't really like the UFC anymore, like in the way that they do business and treat the fighters and everything. But like, bro, I want to see Romero fight the best guys in the world because every time I see him fight on the regional scene, even though they find the best guy on the regional scene, he styles on them.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like that fight. He really just showcased like almost every skill set with all those different takedowns. He was just touching him on the feet and lined up that right hand and caught him good, dropped him, got his back. Like what more could he have really shown? He went all out and trying to get the finish, and if there was a different referee, it could have been stopped. So it was really a shocker. But I had a weird feeling all sort of week with just seeing all the promotion towards Espinoza and your comments on the experience that Michael Dufort had. Uh, yeah, it was awesome to see Romero style in there, though. Be ready to see a video coming out on Canadian MMA of that sick performance. And yeah, it's just, I can't wait. Like, I'm excited to see what's next. It's if the UFC is coming back to Canada this year, it would be a shocker if he isn't picked up by them for like I. It would make no sense if they come back and if he isn't signed by a big promotion and he doesn't get a shot there, because what else can he do?
Yeah, I know what else can he do, man. I already told everybody involved, but he needs to fight Michael Dufort. That's what happens. He needs to fight because, like, the Samurai event is looking like the old TKO cards, basically. Like all
Mm-hmm.
the old the Quebecois guys that we know and love, they're all on the event except for Mick Dufort because he's impossible to book, unfortunately. But yeah, so everybody's on the event. It's gonna be a huge ass card, and like it can really be the beginning of something big for Samurai, but they need to follow it up. Like they can't come with another event like a couple of months later and it's just like a normal event. Like let's say Samurai 2 after Samurai 1 was a good card, but if you look at the two events, you're like, there's one card with Strania, Morgan, Dufort, Duprat,
Mm-hmm.
Prepolek, Majed Amo, and the other event is like Robert Serrais, Kevin Genereux, and some guys that we don't know about yet, which turned out to be Tommy Morrison and these people. But still, like they need to follow it up, and there's no better way to follow it up than with Michael Dufort, Anthony Romero in the main event. And like, bro, if the winner of this fight doesn't get to the UFC, neither of them will. Like it's just stupid, man, and it already makes no sense that he's not there. But yeah, the blessing in disguise here is probably that he's not gonna be in a weird tournament where they invent the rules as it goes. And like I don't like the PFL, man. That's personal bias, but like that's probably the best news is now he's free to get picked up for the contender or something else. Will it happen since he kind of waited 2 years and it never happened? Then like it doesn't make any sense. But still, it's now he's not tied up with nobody, so there's still time for the UFC to realize that it's not making any sense and just fucking make it right, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, it's gonna that Dufort and Romero matchup would. I would just hate seeing those two guys that are so close to getting signed from Canada be matched up against each other, just because it would set one back for sure. But then it would at least guarantee one of them a shot, pretty much.
Yeah, I know, man, it sucks, but like we had to. That's what needed to happen for Jourdain to sign. That's what needed to happen
Hmm.
for Barrio to sign. Like Jourdain fought Alex Morgan, bro.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't get any worse than that or better,
fair enough.
either
Yeah.
way that you look at it. So, like, I feel that it's two guys that have been here so long, that have been deserving of this opportunity for so long, and it's just like not coming. So one of them is gonna have to force the end and just fucking. And I know it sucks even if you're them, it sucks to take this fight. Like, it's absolutely sucks. Like, you fucking fighting Mig's fall. Romero might be able to get the better of the striking exchanges, might be able to land some cool takedowns there. But man, if you try to play that game with Mig's fall, it just might be in your back and choking the living shit out of you within 30 seconds, because everybody who grapples with that guy gets submitted, basically. And then, you never know what can happen, but it's just like, as a fan, we need that. We need that. And I think, like I said, one of them needs to force the end, because, and especially, I would say, especially Dufal. Romero is still, like you said, he's 25 years old. Yes, he's getting more and more experience, but the guy is not old in his MMA career. He's been super active. He's been fighting 3-4 times a year. So basically, he's still a prospect. Dufal has been fighting since 2012.
Hmm.
Shit needs to happen if it's gonna happen, because if it's not, then it just might be too late, or you might just get there too late.
Hmm. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So you purchased the Rumble in the Cage 64 pay-per-view. So we're gonna break
Yes.
this down right now. I don't know how you want to proceed. Do you want to go fight by fight? Do you want to go with the most relevant? Because I know there was like a shitload of amateur fights on that event. So
Yeah, there was a ton. I don't know. I've got stuff for each fight, so I can go through fight by fight. But yeah, had to buy it. Had to see my guy Adam Posner get it done. Another quick finish in round one. Shout out to him, 2-0 already. But yeah, there was some great finishes this card. Some really good matchups and some yeah, just like insane finishes that you would not expect to see from the amateur scene. But yeah, to start off the night, it was Adam Brezanova against Ben Landry. And yeah, it's like Landry was looking good at the feet at the start. Adam got the takedown, didn't get it, but a lot of like grinding on the fence, sort of got a hip toss, but couldn't hold position. And yeah, Adam got some good knees to the body, sort of to 30 seconds left, and got a trip from the clinch, got some side control, but it was a weird round. It was super hard to score. Like this ended in a split decision, and the yeah, sorry, where was I? Yeah, it was a split decision, and round one was super hard to score. Like I felt that like Brezanova had some success, but Landry's success was a lot bigger, if it makes sense. Like Brezanova was holding him against the cage, got some knees, but Landry just had a few big moments to sort of at the end of the round. And round two was they were both pretty active on the feet, and Brezanova caught a kick early, went for a takedown, and ate some big shots on the way in, chained it to a double leg. Eventually, he got the takedown, but landed some shots on top as well while he controlled. And Landry looked like he like latched up a triangle with a bit less than a minute left and had him in like a really bad position and transitioned to an armbar, and it looked super tight, but Benzanova just got out right in time, and I think that sort of stole the round back for Landry, just because Benzanova landed some good shots on top, but wasn't really in a finishing situation. But Landry in the last minute, like, looked like he had that triangle latched in super tight, and the armbar as well was a super slick transition, had him like belly down, but you could make an argument for Benzanova. And then round three, Yeah, what happened? It was like they were both sort of trading shots to start round 3, and Landry tagged him a bit with a left hook, which forced Benzanova to shoot him for the takedown. He got him down and passed him out and started raining down like a lot of shots. And Landry he was forced to sort of kick off the fence and try to explode out, gave up his back, and Benzanova just locked in the body triangle. And that was the fight from there. So, like, the first 2 rounds were really close, but Benzanova, yeah, it was just a super close fight. It was hard to score, but both guys like they each had their arguments to win. Like, and then moving up the card, Max Casimiri versus Ray Lee. Max had Jordan Main in his corner, so the crowd was going crazy when he walked out. It was super loud in there. And Max opened up throwing lots of kicks, and Lee came back with heavy punches. And Ray Lee started connecting and was getting like pretty big reactions out of Max. It looked like it was going to be over because he was unloading against the cage and hurting him to the body. The ref jumped in after a knee looked like it hit the groin, but it was pretty hard to tell. It was just sort of like skimmed up that area, and it was around the belt line, but gave Max some much needed time to recover. Then it was more of the same when they got back to it. Lee was landing big body shots that really hurt Casimiri. And he just, like, Lee didn't respect the power coming back. He had his hands down at some points, was just, like, really getting comfortable in there. And, round 2, Lee got back to work, landing big punches, and got Max's back sort of while they were standing. And, like, went over top with a big punch and sort of got the back of Max's head. Max immediately looked over to the ref, and the ref acknowledged it and took a point away right away. But then Max couldn't continue, so they gave Rayleigh a DQ loss, and Max got the win in that one. It was tough to see it end like that, especially because Rayleigh was doing so well in the striking and really like controlling the fight. But, then moving up, there's Saeed Abiissa versus Griffin Matthias. And this one was, this was one of the really crazy finishes on this card. Saeed, go check out his Instagram and look out his Instagram story if you haven't seen it, because it's like one of those that you do not expect from amateur MMA. They both got super busy right away, exchanging punches and kicks just right in the pocket. And Saeed started landing good, and the ref jumped in. It was sort of a weird situation. I think the ref thought he saw an eye poke, but they got right back to it. And Saeed was landing lots of good shots, like sort of controlling with his lead hand, lots of jabs and with lead hooks. And Abby, he hit him with a clean question mark kick. It wasn't the most powerful one, but it got his attention. Then he followed up with a right hand and a body kick, and that that hurt him. He went back towards the cage, and Saeed just started teeing off on him, hit crazy boxing combination, and put him out bad. It was one of the highlights of the card for sure. He looks like someone to watch out for in the future. It was an amazing performance. Then moving on, we've got AJ Market versus Mitchell Carlson. Yeah, Carlson just came in throwing punches right away, and Market clinched him up, took him down against the fence, got it to where he wanted. Carlson was able to get up, and then AJ snatched up a Kimura grip on the fence and swept him back down, immediately transitioned to an arm bar. It was a super smooth, beautiful sequence. From there, AJ landed some hammer fists as he tried to free the arm and eventually got it free and forced the tap. So good job by Market to get the fight where he wanted it and impose the jiu-jitsu. Next up was Jabbar Kadavazi versus Artyom Krukowski.
That's a mouthful, man.
Go back to back with those names.
I was trying to read the names off on the Instagram post, and I'm like, bro, how does that, man?
You saw it?
I saw the names. I'm a big fan of the names.
Yeah. But yeah, this one was really good too. Artyom Krukowski is only 16 years old, And like right away, both these guys just started exchanging in the pocket, mixing it up with the hands and the feet, throwing lots of leg kicks. They were both landing, and it looked like maybe Jabbar was getting the better of the boxing exchanges early on until Krakowski landed a good straight that stunned Jabbar, followed it up with a 1-2, and then did it again, and finished with a big left hook that time and sent Jabbar back against the cage. And Krakowski knew he had him hurt and lined up a big right followed by a left hook and sat Jabbar down, and it was all over. It was crazy to think that this guy's only 18 or 16 and is putting on performances like that. So definitely another guy to look out for. And moving on, we got Christian Hewitt versus Yan Tun. And Tun was looking really good out there, throwing lots and just sort of touching Hewitt. And Hewitt was just sort of countering lots and letting Tun throw lots out there, just trying to time him. Tun landed some really big shots to end up the round against the cage, and looked like if it was in the open of the mat, he would have dropped Hewitt. But the cage was there to sort of hold him up when his legs buckled, and Yan Tun must have put out 15 punches in a row trying to end the fight to end the first round. And yeah, definitely round one goes to Yan Tun. Round two, Tun hurt him bad. He hurt him again early after he backed him up against the cage and had him in a bit of trouble. Eventually, Hewitt got his wits back, started to counter, loaded up like a crazy head kick and landed it clean and sent Tun straight back against the ground. Ref jumped in right away. It was one of the nastiest head kicks I've seen ever. No ground and pound needed. Looked like he just completely loaded it up and connected clean, sent him straight back. And from there, how many more do we have? Holy, yeah, this is a big card. I need to do some more concise notes, I think.
Don't worry.
I just want to give all these guys coverage.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we had Dan Aker versus Dawson Baker, and in round one, Aker came out throwing wild shots, throwing lots. Baker tied him up against the cage, got him down, moved to full mount quick. Aker got half guard back, but Baker had control for almost the whole round and just rode it out. Round two, Baker got the takedown right away, worked on a Kimura, landed some good strikes, and just dominated the round on top. He ended in mount, landing a ton of strikes. Probably could have finished the fight if he had another 10 seconds. Definitely has to be a 10-8 in that round. And then round three, Baker controlled him against the cage, got him down eventually, just did his thing on the ground again. It was a pretty flawless performance by him, super strong grappling. And moving up, we got Akira Kingsley versus Dan Graham. This one was another split decision. Started off by Akira clinching up a lot early. Then when they got back to range, they sort of took turns landing shots, lots of leg kicks from Akira. It was a really close first round, and both guys had their moments, but Graham had some good flurries too, so there's an argument for either guy. Kingsley tried clinching quite a bit, and Graham was landing a lot of the cleaner shots on the feet from the first half of the second until Kingsley, it was almost around the midway point of the second round, but Kingsley found his rhythm, was just peppering him with a ton of leg kicks, and Graham started to really look pretty tired as the round ended, and it looked like Kingsley was going to take on the rest of the fight from there, and it would be a tale of two halves. But the start of the third round, Graham had a really strong third round. He opened up with a couple of big flurries that sent Akira back, and I don't know. Graham Park also has a crazy leg kick tolerance because he ate a ton of leg kicks and just kept walking them off. Not a lot of checking them, not a lot of much, but just eating them and just walking through it. There's that Dominican guy in the UFC that has the same strategy. He's a good boxer, but yeah, he showed toughness. Graham ended up getting the decision win, so good on him, but it could have really gone to either guy. But that big third round, it looked like Graham really dug deep there, grinded out the third round. Moving up, we got Derek Claremont versus Derek Pershke. This had a pretty disappointing end. Lots of cage wrestling in the first round. Claremont pulled a guillotine to end the round, but it wasn't really there. Just trying to make a statement in the judge's eyes to seal the round. But second round, Claremont got the takedown early and chipped away with some ground and pound. And Pershke got up and looked for a trip, but Claremont's knee was sort of like his leg was in between the two of Pershke's. Sorry if I'm completely butchering your name, Derek, but yeah, Claremont's his one leg was in between the other two as Pershke went for the takedown, and his knee just sort of turned sideways and immediately was in a ton of pain, just grimacing and tapped out due to injury. So it sucked to see the fight end like that. But yeah, next fight we got Kevin McCarthy versus Cal Kostanuk. It was amateur Muay Thai, I believe. That's what the announcers were saying. And McCarthy was landing lots early, some really nice body kicks, and Kostanuk had some nice jabs and landed a good combo near the end of the round as well. It got the attention of Kevin McCarthy. Then round two was a completely different story. It looked like Cal kind of, I don't know, I think he could tell Kevin was getting a bit tired because Cal came out hard, put it on him, heavy pressure against the cage, and got a knockdown with a nice straight left after a flurry of punches. McCarthy survived the 8-second count, got up, and Cal just smelled blood in the water, like sealed the deal with a big right hook at the end of a boxing combination and sat him down, and it was over pretty quick after that. Like ref just waved it off, but really exciting Muay Thai fight. Next fight on the card was Josh Fox versus Said Zaifek. But Said tried pushing the grappling. Josh showed good takedown defense, landed some nice shots on the feet. Said did have some success grappling in the second round and got Fox's back at one point, but Fox just reversed position, ended the round on top. He landed some really clean shots in the third round as well. He showed like really nice sprawls and also made him pay when he broke out of the takedown attempts and just made him regret going for them. He looked like he had Said really uncomfortable in the third round just with the pressure, and took him off his feet with a big leg kick, kept him on his back for a while, just chipping away at the legs, but was a unanimous decision win for Josh Fox out of Champions Creed. Super impressive takedown defense, and he landed some really nice shots, and no doubt in the judges' eyes for that decision. But next up on the card, we've got my guy, Adam Posner, fighting D. Swain. Dominant performance from Adam. Landed some punches to start the round and then threw Hinton to the ground 3 times in a row. It was just like Lewis versus Spivak. Just kept tossing him down. The third takedown, he threw both hooks in super quick and took his back. Flattened him out and just landed like 15 punches in a row, which made the ref jump in, and made it look effortless. It was a great performance from him. He's trains at a Universal MMA with some great guys there, so he's got a great future for sure. And moving up on the card, we have Josh Kitchen versus Colton Boxwell. First pro MMA fight here. 2 super experienced guys. Well, not super, but in terms of comparison to the rest of the fights, Josh Kitchen is 5-3 and Boxwell is 1-4. There's some middleweights, but Boxwell got the takedown from the clinch in the first, landed in side control against the cage, and Kitchen was just in a bad position immediately. But Boxwell worked towards the crucifix and got it for a second, landed some strikes. When Kitchen tried getting up, Colton Boxwell jumped on what looked like an inverted triangle up against. It was a weird scramble because it was against the cage too, so there really wasn't much space. But he jumped on the inverted triangle, grabbed onto an arm as well. So Kitchen was defending 2 things at once, and with the pressure of the arm, sort of turned him over. And then they were in the middle of the cage, so he was able to have the space to get the leverage I don't know if it was, I think it was from the triangle, but forced kitchen to tap. It was a pretty crazy submission from Boxall. He looked pretty surprised when he felt the tap. Like, he had a big look of shock in his face because he knew he pulled off something crazy. But great show of sportsmanship from the two afterwards immediately. But yeah, crazy submission from Colton Boxall. And then we've got Ethan Chung versus Ben Fair. And back to amateur here in the lightweight division. Fair's pretty experienced in amateur. He's 5-4 and took on Cheng at 1-1. Lots of kicks from both of them early. Fair got pretty wild with his hands, tried to get into range and clinch him up, and then jumped on his back for a second. But Chung had, for a guy that was 1-1, or he might have been 1-0 at the time, but showed super sophisticated deep grappling defense in that situation. Like, just sort of used the cage to peel him off his back because he only had one hook in. And Fair tried sliding to the back again afterwards, but wasn't successful. Cheng got the takedown and finished the round on top with some heavy pressure and body shots from half guard on top. Then round 2, Cheng got him to the cage, tried tossing him, but Fair, it wasn't a great attempt because Fair fell right on top of him. Right away, Cheng showed sophisticated game on the ground and got butterfly hooks and created space. But the second that he got to his knees, Fair latched up a guillotine choke and rolled right through into mount. It was a pretty slick transition for him to just roll him right through that quick. And when he got into mount, he gave up the guillotine and Cheng tried to roll to his back to escape, and Fair just sort of snatched up the body triangle and finished the round from there to seal it up. But yeah, and into the last round, but it was pretty close at this point. You could make an argument that it could be 1-1 or it could be 2-0 for Fair, but I think should have been 1-1 in most judges' eyes at this point. But in round 3, it was pretty even on the feet to start things up. Cheng clinched him up, landed some nice knees to the body, and then eventually Fair, from the clinch, timed one of the knees that Cheng threw, grabbed it, and took him down. But Chung got up quickly. Fair locked his hands around the back and sort of rode out the round from there. Couldn't get the takedown, but just held him against the cage for the rest of the round and won the decision. So I think he's good win from him. I'm not sure if do you know how MMA Empire, if they have the records, are those the updated ones on the results?
Couldn't tell, man. To be honest, I'll go check.
Yeah, I think he moved to 5-4 probably. It's a good win from him. And yeah, 2 more fights. We've got heavyweights this time. John Woo versus Brian Crow. It was interesting to have 2 pro heavyweights both making their debuts in the co-main event. Because nice to see some heavyweights coming onto the scene here in Canada, but just interesting because, in the main event, you've got Matt Hyman, Lee Main, 2 experienced, tested heavyweight veterans of the Canadian scene. But anyways, this one, it started out with Woo. Woo got crazy, landed like some big left hooks to start the fight, and then just got in with some crazy flurries, just unloading hooks. It looked like for a second the ref might have jumped in there and stopped the fight, but Crow was able to get his wits about him, landed some shots in the clinch, and began to have some of his own success in the striking. He would just seem to be landing really clean when he did connect, and from there the tide turned again. Like, Wu fought back and he got some crazy plum knees to the head in the clinch, but he just wasn't reacting well to the pressure that Crow was putting on him, and whenever he ate a shot he would sort of almost turn his back and almost look away. But by the end of the first round he just started to shell up and not defend himself. Crow was just teeing off on him against the cage, showed a lot of heart in that performance, and weathered the storm early, got his first pro win. shout out to Brian Crow for that. And main event time, Matt Heim versus Lee Main. So two experienced veteran heavyweights. Heim looked pretty tentative to start the fight out, was scared to exchange, was just sort of trying to tap away at Lee with some strikes, but Lee landed a big left hook against the fence that stumbled Matt. Lee was able to get it into the clinch, land some like big knees, and huge left hook connected from Lee Main, which put Matt Heim to sleep. The crowd went crazy. It was a pretty special moment for Lee Main. It was a perfect way to end the card as well. So, yeah, very entertaining card from Rumble in the Cage.
Damn, that was a complete analysis, my guy, man. Shout out.
I had to get the money's worth for the podcast content.
Yeah, for sure, man. Then, I was really interested in Brian Crow, to be honest. His pro debut, the guys from Shave Bears MMA and everything. So I was interested in that. And Colton Boxell always pulls off the craziest fucking submissions. Um, on MMA Empire, they say Kimura. You say inverted triangle. So yes, I want to see it now. I want to see what it was exactly, because there's definitely some cool ass kimuras you can do from the inverted triangle. And like I said, Colton Boxall had only one pro win, but his only pro win had one submission of the year. I had 2-3 years ago. I don't quite remember, but he'll hook the fuck out of a guy, and it was pretty cool. So I gave him submission of the year. So maybe a candidate for this year's submission of the year too. Who knows?
Against a really good opponents as well too. 5-3.
Yeah, a guy who had a winning record and everything. I hadn't fought since 2014, I believe. So it had almost been 10 years, but still, I don't think you unlearn how to fight. And yeah, for the main event, bro, I don't have much to say about this fight. But yeah, it's a cool moment for Lee Main, who works his ass off to put on these events and everything. So cool for him to be able to enjoy a victory here in the main event, even though I feel like anything else would have been very, very surprising here. So yeah, let's move on, bro. We've got some Canadian fights in the UFC and Bellator to look at, and then maybe one or two MMA UFC news that I'd like to know your takes on. So first off, let's go ahead with the big Canadian fight, the one that it's kind of bittersweet because it's going to be a good fight. I think it's too early for these guys to fight, especially that there's two Canadians at welterweight in the UFC, and they're going to fight each other. And they're like two fights in their career, and like it's going to be Malott's second fight, Johan's third fight in the UFC. So way too early, guys that have promise, that are good guys on the rise, and that could have been a very good matchup like 2 or 3 years from now, when both guys have some momentum and maybe one of them is looking forward to like moving up the ranks and everything. Now I just feel like, yes, it's going to be on the main card of an okay event. I don't want to say filler event, because the filler event was the one we just saw last night. But it's bittersweet fight. As I don't know what's your take on the matchup per se, but I think I got an interesting take on that one, but I'm going to let you go first.
I think it's going to be super exciting to watch. I just hope both guys have fun. Maybe we can get a fight of the year draw decision and both guys move up after this, because I really don't want to see it. I don't know. It's hard to, like, I know it's going to be a great fight because both guys bring, I don't know about your take. You could come out here and say it's going to be a trash fight and make me look stupid, but I think it's going to be a super exciting fight the way both of them fight, and I'm going to be heartbroken when one of them has to lose.
No, for sure. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a trash fight. I think that's the only thing about this fight, is that it's a good fight. But my take, is because we haven't seen Mike Malott pass the first round, except once, and it turned out to be a weird-ass draw at a Bellator event. Johan, we've seen him outside of the first round, but it was never that pretty, to be honest. He either fought his ass off, super gassed out, or in the case of the Gabe Green fight, just kind of lost in the second round because he was gassed out. But like, I know that I don't want to put too much weight into his last performance, because last fight Johan did was I wouldn't say a great performance, like a good performance. He did what he had to do to win this fight, and I think he toned down his style a lot to be able to have cardio for the full 15 minutes. So where my take might be weird is that, like, we haven't really seen Malott pass the first round, and when we see Johan pass the first round, it wasn't that good. But because of what he did to adjust in his last fight, I think that this fight may go in Johan's favor the later it gets. As weird as it could sound, to be honest, because it does sound weird to say a guy that tends to gas out in the second round is at an advantage if the fight goes to the second round. But yeah, Malott is a first round killer, and like fortunately enough for him, we don't see him in the second round because he never has to, because he finishes the guy in the first round. But I don't think Malott comes zero. I think he has the technical edge in the striking. I don't think he has the power edge. And we've seen Johan fight some more technical striker, and he just knocked the fuck out of them. So yes, it's going to be exciting. I'm going to hate to see one of them lose. Like, I love Mike Malott, man. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love the guy. Only had good interactions with him, but like, Johan is my friend, like my actual friend. So of course I kind of have to play favorite a little bit here. But yeah, no, it's I think it's okay to have Malott favorite. I think he's maybe a little too favored, but
Yeah,
it's
over 2-1 is a little crazy.
yeah. But like, it could have been worse. Like that's about the odds I expected. But I feel like the odds are skewed because we've seen Johan lose in the UFC, and then he won a fight against a guy that's not really impressive. Malott like beat a guy that we knew, but Mickey Gall has been anything but impressive lately. And I still think that Gabe Green is massively underrated as a fighter. And that Gabe Green would probably have a good shot to beat Mike Malott if he fought with him in that fight. So, yes, I'm going to be interested to see the result. But yeah, I think that with the adjustments Johan made, there might be a way for him to try to get this fight into the later rounds and then maybe take over from there.
Yeah, definitely, because it was very apparent of the adjustments Johan made from his last two fights, just his approach, because he almost knocked out Gabe Green. Like, it was a crazy flash knockdown. I don't know how Green recovered that fast, because it was like brutal. I've watched it in slow motion so many times, and he went limp in midair. But yeah, it looked like a big adrenaline dump for Johan after that. But he obviously switched up the game plan. It wasn't a super impressive win his last time out, but he got the UFC win, which is the most important thing. And Malott's just like steamrolling people in the first round pretty much every fight. So we know Lainesse can steamroll people in the first round too, which is what makes this so interesting. But what makes it intriguing is that he's switched up the game plan, like you said. So really interesting fight here, and I just hope both guys have fun.
For sure. And the thing for Lainesse is that he's never going to be the best in the division. Like, he's never going to be the most skilled. He's never going to be the most athletic. He's never going to be the most anything. But he's super intelligent, and he's able to watch back what he did and reflect on his performances and really be able to point out the small mistakes that he did. And the guy works hard, man. He's super dedicated to that. I've rarely seen a guy, like, I know some guys that are super talented and have like half of Johan's dedication. Johan has a crazy mindset, and I know for a fact that even if he goes out and maybe loses this fight to Mike Malott, he's gonna figure out a way to have some longevity in the UFC, because he just works so goddamn hard, and like, he's got one thing that not anybody has, and that's power, man. And if he's able to, like, he's getting, I don't want to say he's getting old in age, because he's my age, and I don't want to think I'm old, but like, he's not the 23, 24-year-old prospect for sure. But the guy is still young in his MMA career. Hasn't had, like, he didn't start MMA late because he was wrestling for years, or he doesn't have like an athletic background. So the guy his body is not torn down yet. So he could fight into his later age and be good. And I know that this guy's gonna find a way to adjust and to become a good UFC fighter at the end of the road. So it just sucks that they have to fight right now, to be honest. But man, it's happening. So we're just gonna watch it. And like I said, let's hope they both have fun, man. Then Jasmine Jasudavicius is on that card too, and she's fighting. You might know her name. I don't want to pull up the apology. Who is she fighting?
Gabriela Fernandez.
Who's a newcomer from Brazil with some booty.
Another one of these newcomers. Let's hope she's not been like in the lab for 3 years doing crazy training like that last girl Jasmine had to fight.
Yeah, that last girl turned out pretty good too. She just knock a poor girl out with like a spinning kick or some
Yeah,
shit.
spinning kick to the neck, spinning.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, so nasty. But yeah, back to Jasmine. She's gonna look to implement the wrestling, I imagine. She had some good striking against Kay Hansen too, but it looked like what she's strongest with is the wrestling. What do you think?
Yes, for sure. The thing with Jasmine is she's just kind of slow, man. She's able to get a hold of her opponent. She's very strong physically. She's got good wrestling and everything, but like 125 is still a division where girls tend to be really fast. So she's just gonna have a tough way to get her hands on these girls. But I think once she does, she can be. If she does, she's gonna be pretty comfortable in most of these fights. To be honest, like I I love her, but she didn't use it quite often in her last fight. But I love the way that she fought in her first few fights, where she knew that she wasn't the fastest fighter, so she just went after her opponent like heavy pressure and just trying to put some volume out there to constantly make her think. And yes, of course, like if you do that against good competition, you might get like countered pretty badly. And I feel like that's what happened in a couple of fights, especially the Elise Reed fight at CFFC, and that's when she kind of toned it down and went to a more traditional approach. Maybe that could be a way to close the distance a little more effectively on her opponents. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope she wins. She's one of my favorite fighters and one of my favorite persons too in MMA. So yeah, of course we're gonna be rooting for Jazz here.
Yeah, it's two rising prospects in the game. Like Gabriela hasn't lost in a long time. I think she's on a 7-fight win streak. So getting it done in LFA2 against pretty good competition. So I think this is going to be a pretty good fight, and go Jasmine.
Yes, then we've got Jeremy Kennedy, Pedro Carvalho in Dublin. And this is a good fight, man. Pedro Carvalho is one of these guys, man, that you just don't never think about. And just once in a while, he's going to pull a win out of his ass that you're going to be like, oh, he's not that bad in the end. That's just what he did his last fight. He defeated Mads Burnell, who I always really loved as a grappler and as a fighter. And I think he's one of the guys that got cut from the UFC maybe a little too early, didn't have the chance to really show what he was about, and came to Bellator, got on a complete tear, and had the chance to be in a number one contender fight, lost to Adam Borix, and then was supposed to bounce back against Pedro Carvalho, and Pedro just took that away from him and won this fight. So comes in with some momentum against Jeremy Kennedy, who's just, I don't know, he just doesn't get the recognition, man. He's a super good fighter. He's just, yes, very, very grappling oriented. May not be like the funnest style to watch fight, but if you like it, the guy's entertaining. I really love to see him work. But if you're the more casual, I want to see guys bang, bro. Maybe not the fighter that you're gonna love the most, but yeah, he just doesn't get the recognition, man. The guy has beaten guys like Aaron Pico, Emmanuel Sanchez, Stephen Seiler, Marat Magomedov, Karl Bogniak, Ronnie Jason, Alex Ricci, and that's just to name a few. So he's been around the block. He's very good. His only Bellator loss is to Adam Borix. Man, I want to say that if he wins, he's gonna get a title shot, but I feel like he's been deserving it for a while and not getting it. So I won't say that he's definitely gonna get a title shot if he wins, but fuck, I feel like he needs to.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it. Like super under recognized for sure. Like guys 3-1 in the UFC, 2-1 with that no contest in the PFL, and 3-1 in Bellator with a big spot in the co-main event here in Dublin. And I guess he's the guy that's coming to Pedro Carvalho trains out of SBG Ireland, so we've got JBC coming in to steal the show. It's the enemy, but a super big spotlight, co-main event, and can't wait to see him keep doing his thing.
Yep. Then let's move on to. I know rapidly. Yeah, I just saw it in the local chat. You wanted to touch briefly on the Olivier Aubin Merci Shane Burgos matchup. Bro, I don't know why they're doing that, man. But they really want Ali to lose. I don't know if it's the guy that he's gonna lose to. Once again, he's just very, very, very good. And Shane Burgos is like, I see some people though saying, "Oh, Shane Burgos moving up, he's gonna be way too small." I don't expect that at all, to be honest.
I think he's
I
going to be juiced up.
Yeah, I expect Shane Burgos to be a quite big enough lightweight if he needs to be. And fuck, man, it's gonna be a banger fight for sure. It's fucking Shane Burgos. There's no way around it.
Yeah, it's like Ali sometimes like fights to his opponent. Like his opponent will have to sort of bring the fight out of him. He's fine with cruising to a decision win, but Burgos is going to bring the fight out of him and some. So that's going to be a good one. And we also got Julia Budd facing the PFL lightweight champion Larissa Pacheco. So that's a tough matchup for Julia. I thought she won her last fight against Aspen Ladd. Obviously a close decision split, I believe it was, but now she's getting a tough matchup here, but obviously a very big chance to showcase her skills and take the championship away.
Yeah, it kind of sucks for Julia Budd because I feel like she came to the PFL with the. Like, if we had prime Julia Budd in the PFL, probably she wins a million or she's very, very close to it. But now she's kind of 39 years old and on the later half of her career, and you kind of see it. Unfortunately for her, you kind of see it. It's not exactly what it used to be for her, and it's getting tougher. And it's another girl who's not being booked super kindly too. like since she got to the PFL, Jenna Fabian is pretty good. Caitlin Young is quite recognized. She was booked against Kayla Harrison. It was canceled, but she fought Aspen Ladd and then Larissa Pacheco. So kind of only the best girls in the division. And we'll be looking forward to that. I hope she can pull the upset for sure, but Pacheco is pretty good. And I feel like is it 145 this year since Kayla's not there?
I believe so. Let me see.
I think that's what I heard. So that would be
Oh,
probably.
Kayla's not in it?
No, I don't think Kayla's in the tournament this year.
Oh, what the hell? Weird. I think it is. Yeah, it is 145. Yep.
Okay, so that may be a thing because Pacheco hasn't fought at 45 in a while, and she got pretty big. So that might be something to look at there.
Yeah, and one more fight announcement that I forgot about. Because just while we're speaking about Julia Budd, we got Lance Gibson Jr. fighting Vladimir Tokov at Bellator 293 March 31st. So
Now, we're starting to have him fight people that we know their names, so that's good.
yeah,
They're giving him their very, very slow build. I appreciate it. He's a good talent, so
I don't
why not
mind
give
it.
him the slow build? But now with the Vladimir Tokov, who's a Fedor guy, we're starting to like it's a super it's a matchup you can win for sure. But
Yeah,
we're starting to see him fight some better guys, and that's cool because he's now 7-0, and I feel like it's the time for him to get these matchups.
yeah, 7 in a row, 5 wins in a row in Bellator. So time for a step up, and it's a big spotlight. I wonder. Let me see if this is on the main card. Probably isn't, knowing Bellator. But no, looks like it's on prelims. But the same night that we got Aaron Jeffrey fighting John Salter. So nice to see Bellator throwing some Canadians together for us,
Yeah,
as well as
I think Randy
Randy
Fields,
Field
yeah, is on that card too. So it's gonna be
fighting
cool.
Ashley Cummins 7-6.
Yeah, that's a good fight, but 120, that's a crazy weight because Ashley Cummins 105er.
Oh, what?
Yep. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting for sure.
Oh,
Then I'm sorry, I left it out of the Canadian fights because it's also a UFC fight because I wanted to put it in UFC news, but
oh,
it's kind of breaking news.
yes,
Tanner
sir.
Bowser down to 205 against Ion Cutelaba. What are your feelings here?
I'm really excited to see a new Tanner Bozier at 205. Hopefully that he can make the weight well and it all is like a smooth process for him. But I'm I think it's kind of it's a tough opponent to start out with, if I'm being completely honest, because we've heavyweight doesn't have the best grapplers, and we've sort of seen him have his most struggles with grapplers at heavyweight, and they're normally just bigger guys than him, and that's why they have success, I think. But he definitely should be the bigger guy against Ion, but still, you know what Cutelaba wants to do. He just wants to wrestle you, and that's about it. But I think Tanner should be able to have some success, given that he's the guy going down. He'll be the bigger guy, and if he can make the weight good, I think his should have some success. But yeah, happy to see him go down to 205. I've been seeing lots of people call for it for a bit, and because, like I said, his struggles are against the big heavyweights that can just outmuscle him.
It's a weird position to be in if you're Tanner Bowser. Very weird position to be in because, like you said, the bigger heavyweights are more powerful and are able to outmuzzle him, maybe take him down and control him a little better. And uh, that sucks because I feel like the 205ers are going to be way too athletic for him. Like sometimes, yes, you can be bigger because you cut down from heavyweight, but he's a small heavyweight, and like, bro, there's not a big difference between the heavyweights and the light heavyweights. They're just some of them that cut weight and others that don't. That's pretty much the difference. So he's gonna come there, yes, maybe a little bigger than the average light heavyweight, but the average light heavyweight is so much more athletic than him, like fast, explosive, powerful, yes, but not powerful in the sense that I'm a big guy who's gonna take you and wear you down. Just powerful in the fact that they can generate power from a very explosive positions and like super fast twitch shit. So Kutelaba is kind of on the way down, so I feel like it could be a matchup that Tanner comes in and wins and like immediately puts himself into like fringe top 15 discussion and then has to fight like Ryan Spann or Johnny Walker or a super athletic guy like that. And that's when I think it's probably going to be tougher for him, to be honest. But like he kind of has to try it because I feel like he tried heavyweight and yes, he showed that he was a pretty good heavyweight fighter, but not maybe good enough to be a top 10 heavyweight fighter or nothing. So yes, of course he has to try his hand at the light heavyweight if he's able to make the weight easily and everything. But I don't know, man. Like I said, he's got he's got the style that anybody would love to have, except at light heavyweight and heavyweight. And he's able to make it work. This style does not work. How many heavyweights we've seen with that style, and it's just not working. And he's able to make it work. So that in its own, it's a really good accomplishment for him. But I don't know which division suits him better. My feeling right now is heavyweight, but I guess we'll see, man. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it's too bad they couldn't have given him the Jordan Wright matchup or something like that, or treated him like he was Tyson Pedro and given him Ike Villanueva and Harry Hunsucker. But
No.
hey, they'd you know how they treat Canadians in the UFC.
Yeah, they're never easy matchups for us, man. It's never gonna be easy. But what are your opinions on Ivy Gate? Is
So
Islam the worst cheater of all time and he needs to be banned, or like, do you even care?
I care quite a bit, yeah, if it comes up that it's true, but I don't even want to get too invested in any of it until we get some proof because it's all sort of just like he said, she said at this point, and Dan Hooker saying that they need to prove it that it's not true or the evidence will come out. I don't know. I think that it does. Ali Abdelaziz, once again, is the biggest clown in MMA. He exposed the whole team, like just pretty much admitted that they use an IV.
2 to 3 liters, man,
Yeah,
bro.
when it's
It's
100 milliliters and it's not even legal in Australia for the commission. So I think Ali just fumbled the whole bag on this. They could have swept it under the rug, not acknowledged it, but Ali just had to say something, of course, and not the right thing.
yeah. Personally, I couldn't care, man. I don't give a fuck. It used to be legal. I don't get why it's not legal anymore. It's stupid. One of these guys is gonna die someday from cutting weight, and he's gonna die because having an IV after is somehow illegal. When, like, bro, it's not performance enhancing. Yes, I get that. It could be a masking agent or whatever, but fuck, bro, just test him before the weigh-in, and if he's got shit in his system, then even though he takes an IV after all, and he has less shit in his system, it's still gonna be there. So there's like just so many ways that you can know if these guys are on juice without saying, "Oh no, you took an IV, so now we can't know and we need to suspend you." I feel like it would just be safe for everybody to do IVs after weigh-ins, like it used to be before. But bro, like whatever, man. And of course, people are gonna be mad because people love Volkanovski and people don't like Islam, and like it's just weird because now the people are up in arms about that shit. And bro, the Islam got suspended for meldonium like way back. This old camp got popped for steroids, except for Khabib, weirdly enough. But like, bro, why are you gonna get all pressed over an IV when the fucker's probably on drugs, man? He's probably on drugs, and like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I can't push myself to care about that shit, but it's interesting drama at post fight week. There's nothing that's gonna happen from that. Like, nowhere they're gonna fucking like revoke his title. Like, oh, no contest. You didn't win. You had an IV, bro. I don't know, man. It's just so dumb.
I think it helps that this past card and the card this week are not the most exciting name-wise, so this news can spread a lot faster, and people would rather talk about the IV gate rather than Span versus Krylov.
Yep. And like, we should be speaking about Erin Blanchfield today, to be honest. Like, she did amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
man, like, this event was gonna be like, the event where Dana is like, oh, you can't judge an event before it takes place because you can say that it's trash, but when it happens, finally, it's all finishes and it's good and it can never. Rah, 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 rah.
This wasn't one of those.
Well, it was about to be until they fucking booked 3 fights over 205 back to back to back, and like not good 205ers or heavyweights,
No.
like bad fucking 205 fights. And like,
Oh my God.
when you
William
book,
Knight.
yeah, when you book 3 of those, of course it's gonna ruin the whole event, bro. Of course it is. But like before that, it was like Hernandez Miller, that was cool. Sadikov Elder, that was cool.
That was great, yeah.
Yeah, Bueno Silva, cool finish. Emmers did very well. Felipe Lenz, OSP, best case scenario, 50 seconds, it was over. Thank you so much. That's how every 205 fight should be. And then the racist fight, Fletcher and Garimbo, that that was something. That was something. Imagine being the blackest guy on earth and getting your ass whooped by the Ghost. Because the guy's so white, man, he's named the Ghost. And then Clayton Carpenter, like, all of that was like super meaningless, but meaningless fun. and
Yeah, they
then
were
you
entertaining, and
and
then
then
you
you
go
put
to
on Praknio and Knight. And since everything before was entertaining, you're kind of like, oh, okay, so this is like the most boring fight ever, but at least it's super funny because William Knight, like, what the fuck is he even doing? So that was funny. Then you get Pogues and Parisian, and you're like, yeah, it's probably the best version of this fight, but it's
hmm
still not a good fight. And then you just gave us 3 rounds of Poga, right? And then we're about to go to sleep. So
no,
yes,
that was the worst version of that fight that could
yeah,
have been.
exactly, exactly. Worst possible scenario just took place. But I don't really want. If you want to talk about one or two of these fights, go ahead. But mostly, I want
uh,
to talk. I want to talk about Erin Blanchfield, bro.
I
Because
just want to know why Jordan Wright was like smiling the whole fight. Every time he got hit in the face, he'd smile, and after the fight, he was holding his hands up like he won. He's Beverly Hills Ninja. It's,
oh, bro, if this guy, man, he's tough to get.
yeah, but no, not a lot to. No, not much. Just I feel bad for what's his name, Evan Elder. He was
Yeah.
up 2-0 on both of the scorecards. He lost his debut on short notice up a weight class, I believe, and then one knee to the face, and the fight stopped because of that nasty cut. So I think it got fight of the night, so I'm glad about that. So we got some money, but yeah, tough situation there for him.
Yeah, it sucked. No doubt, no doubt. But yeah, main event briefly. Erin Blanchfield just like we kind of knew that if she was able to take Andrade down, it was gonna be a good time for her because she's a very strong top control grappler with very good technique, able to keep her opponents there. Ruthless ground and pound, like some of the most ruthless ground and pound we've seen for a woman's fighter. But the way that she was able to set it all up with her hands, have the better of the striking, like for real, this division is trash, and it's probably only trash because Valentina's on top, and she's just like, I don't know your feelings about Valentina, but I hate her. I absolutely hate her. She is the worst kind of fighter ever for me. And she's so frustrating because when she wants to do something absolutely amazing, she's just so good that she does it. And you're like, if you only you did that all the time and you didn't give us like Nunes Shevchenko 2 and Karmu Shevchenko, and some of like the worst, most intolerable fight that I've seen in my life. But yes, she's just so good, so dominant. But as of now, I think like if you beat historically, if you beat Jessica Andrade, you're a world title level fighter.
hmm
Maybe she's starting to be on the way down a little bit because she's been fighting basically since you women started fighting in the UFC. She already had some experience, and she started fighting quite early. So it's been 10 plus years that she's been active and at the top of the sport. So yes, maybe she's starting to be on her way down a little, but she still destroyed Lauren Murphy in her last fight like it wasn't nothing. So Blanchfield, I think, puts her name amongst the Manon Fiorot and the Tyler Santos, and we've got like I say, I'm not speaking about Tatiana Suarez until she fights. There's still like at the time of this recording 4 or 5 days left before she fights, so anything can happen. But if Suarez is able to fight and be the woman that she used to be years ago, that's another name that you can add to the list of people that I feel can do, maybe not win, but can do stuff, can give us good fights out of Valentina Shevchenko. So maybe for the first time in a while, the women's flyweight division is kind of exciting.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, kind of exciting, guys. Like, no, not at all, man.
I don't know. I think Manon Fiorot, she's in that division, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that could be an interesting fight. Nice kickboxing, and then yeah, just after seeing what Talia Santos did, uh, it makes that Blanchfield fight pretty interesting. And if Blanchfield like has a rematch, or if they reschedule that fight with Talia Santos, and Blanchfield like just dominates her and runs her over with the grappling, then that would you'd really have to think that she stands a great shot at beating Shevchenko. So she's got the style to do it for sure, based on Valentina's last few fights, but not my favorite division for sure.
No. not at all. But like, if only we could see fights, because Valentina, if she's forced to fight, she's gonna do amazing stuff.
Hmm.
That's why she's so frustrating, because most of the time she's not forced to fight. And like, if there's one fighter in the old UFC that if you do not force her to fight, she will just not fight and still beat you, it's Valentina Shevchenko. She will
Hmm.
not. There's fighters, it's like they have to do stuff. I don't think you can have like a boring Brendan Moreno fight. Like, the guy has to do stuff, and it might be stupid. It might put him in trouble, but he's still gonna do it. Same thing for Figueiredo, probably one of the most ruthless champions that we had. Like, in terms of zero IQ fighting style, he was one of the good ones. But
It's like
uh,
Brandon Royval.
yeah, like most of the flyweights, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, Valentina is the opposite of that, and that's why she's probably like. I know there's been so much discussion, like who's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. That after the fights, I kind of thought that Islam needed to add that, to have that number one spot. That's what I said on the podcast last week, which was funny because I basically changed my mind the day after.
I saw.
So I did the podcast in French and said, "Oh, Volkanovski probably deserves it." Then the day after, we released the podcast in English, which was recorded before the podcast in French. So I flip flopped on my takes, but like in the way that it got released was the opposite way than in real life. So absolute madness there. But like, since pound for pound is basically you kind of eliminate all the variables. I don't get why women are not ranked with men in these lists. And if you rank the women and the men, bro, I'm sorry, but the number one pound for pound fighter is probably Valentina right now.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that for sure. Just when was the last time she lost?
Yeah,
Maybe a year ago it could have been argued with Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman with the runs that they were on, but with them each of them losing their last fights, it's Valentina is that one dominant champion that hasn't lost in quite some time.
yep. And even when she loses, she doesn't lose. So that's John Jones
Hmm.
esque. And
Yeah,
like all of that discussion for John Jones to come back, probably win, and just like, if John Jones
right back
wins,
at the
yeah,
top.
if John Jones wins, like, how can you argue that? I know it's probably still Volkanovski, man. It's not. It's fucking John Jones, bro.
Yeah, it's funny that it was such perfect timing for the number one pound for pound fight to take place because it's all for nothing really if Jones wins this fight.
Yeah, that's gonna be a one that we'll have the chance to speak on in a few weeks. But as of this week, I think we're done, man.
Sick. Yeah. Good show, man. Thanks for letting me go crazy over Rumble in the Cage.
Let's go. We needed that because I wasn't gonna pay for it.
Yeah, it was I had to get my money's worth out of the podcast content and squeeze it dry.
For sure. I think you did a good job, man, and it looked like it was a good event in the end. So maybe I'm the one that's foolish, but like, sometimes you have stuff to do in life that involve not being in front of a TV watching fights, and that was the case. So hey, that's what happened. So thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. Thanks to you, Josh, and we'll see each other next week.